Hello and welcome everyone to the Improv Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Dayna Galen, and I'm so excited that you're here today. I've been on a little podcasting hiatus. I had a lot of life changes going on. I moved from Los Angeles to Charlotte in August, and June and July were just crazy with the lead up and all the logistics and planning. And during that time, my daughter also turned 1, which brings up a lot of emotions and things as a mom too. And so, yeah, lots going on. So took a little break from the podcast, but we're back. And I'm so excited to be back with our special guest today. And if you're joining for the first time, I'll give you a rundown of what this podcast is all about. The goals of this podcast are 1, to help people understand the benefits of improvisation. 2, to demonstrate how improv shows up in all aspects of our lives, and it does, I promise. And 3, to inspire you to try new things, get out of your head and judgment zone, and find creative outlets and passions that can help you. And our guest today is an actor, voiceover artist, public speaking coach, storyteller, and a self-proclaimed creative crackpot. Maybe we'll find out what that means in a little bit. Let me tell you all about our wonderful guest, Brian Lafontaine. Brian has 30 years of acting experience, not only in voiceover, but also in film, television, commercials, and on stage. You may have seen Brian in hit shows like Ozark, Stranger Things, and Homeland. As an actor and performer, he has learned how to step into the spotlight, tell stories, and keep audiences engaged. He has faced the nerves, the blank stares, and there are lots of blank stares, the hecklers, oh no, I'm sorry, and lived to tell the tale, and he's here to tell about it. Today, in his work, he helps other professionals face their own spotlight moments and actually enjoy them. Whether it's a keynote, a boardroom pitch, an all-hands meeting, Brian helps turn nervous energy into confidence, craft stories that resonate, and deliver your message like you mean it, because you do mean it. Brian is a Charlotte, North Carolina resident, and so we're practically neighbors now at this point. And recently he has started the Speakeasy events, which we will hear more about later. On his email signature card, it says part advocate, part cheerleader, part ass kicker, 100% in your corner. Please welcome the bold, the brilliant Brian Lafontaine. Welcome, Brian.
Hello. I was half hoping that you were going to say the bold, the beautiful, but no, we just skipped right over that one. That's fine. That's fine. That's right. It's people
rule of
for the
30s.
audio ones. They don't know. They are like, oh, he sounds reasonably appealing. So yes, no, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much, Brian, for being here. And I mentioned we're practically neighbors. I mean, we
are
both
practically
live in
neighbors.
Charlotte now,
Right.
which is awesome.
Well, how are you finding it in relation to Los Angeles? Like the traffic isn't as crazy, but it's still like Charlotte's a very spread out city. You got to have it's another car city like LA. So while
For sure.
people all live in LA, they're all spread about. And while you and I live in Charlotte, I mean, we're practically neighbors in that we live in the same city. That's it.
I picked one urban sprawl for another, for sure. Yes. And I hear people complain about the Charlotte traffic, and I haven't experienced it yet because I'm in my little Valentine bubble.
Right.
And so everything's like 8 to 10 minutes away with free parking. What? Free parking? Can you, how people have free parking? That's been a huge thing of like just having, not even having to worry about parking. It just takes a lot of stress off of you.
Yes. No, Charlotte is not like Los Angeles in that respect. In the people who complain about the Charlotte traffic, it's a lot greater than it used to be. Charlotte didn't used to be like this, but because the city continues to grow at the rate that it has been for the past 6 or 7 years, the city has not caught up with the number of people who are coming. So the old school cranky people Probably me. I'm probably one of them going, "Ah, the traffic here sucks, and if it's 3 o'clock in the
Ugh,
afternoon, just stay home. Stay home until 7."
ugh,
Yeah,
those people from California moving in and
that's
taking
right.
all the spots on the interstate.
All the free parking's being taken by out-of-state plates. Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. I'm sure you're going through a little bit of a culture shock for sure.
It's been fun so far, yeah, I have more time than I did. I'm not
Mhm.
working full time, like, doing a corporate full-time job, and that has been really nice to have that slower pace, kind of take care of myself. It's been a whole year as mom and kind of not being able to take care of myself, and so I'm
Right.
I'm enjoying the time to explore. So whenever I meet up with people for lunch, hint,
Mhm.
hint, I always tell them, I will come to you because I want to explore and see other areas. And, I don't know, it's fun to be here. I went to school in South Carolina in
Oh, okay.
Columbia. So
Yep.
Charlotte's not, like we would come to Charlotte every once in a while, but we never spent a ton of time here. Like I didn't know the neighborhoods and
Right.
things.
See, and look, I've already hijacked the interview. Like, right out of the gate, I stole it from you. I'm giving it back. It's yours. Go ahead. What can I do?
I Well, and I will say I asked you on, Brian, because like I mentioned, I've been here about a month and a half now, and
Mhm.
in that short time frame, I've had 3 or 4 people recommend the speakeasy event to me or the creative mornings that you were speaking at a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I can't do 8 AM because, listen, we're just not you're not making 8 AM events, but it looked like a really nice event, and so your name just, like, kept popping up, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna reach out. I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he wants to come on." And I'm so grateful you said yes and to coming
Oh,
on.
absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't I? Again, why wouldn't I? This strange woman reaches out and says, "I'd like to talk to you." I'm in. I'm the first one there. So wait a minute, you didn't come to Creative Mornings?
I did not. I
Right,
got a
I'm
link
hanging.
to it the day before, and so it was
Ah,
tickets were already filled. Also,
okay.
it's at 8 AM, and I'm up. Evie and I are up at 7 AM, but the routine takes a while, and so we're lucky if we get to daycare drop off at, like, 9:30. Alright,
Are you
so
still adjusting to the time change? Seriously? Like, I'm sure that's gotta be part of it.
yes, it's part of it, but you know what? Just life with a small child, just you take the ebbs and flows and
Right.
you just like, okay, never gonna make anything at 8 AM or probably 6 PM for a while,
Mhm.
except I'm gonna make a special exception for speakeasy 1 month and attend it.
I would love to have you. Yeah, it's been a great experience so far. I just started doing it in February. It's the first Monday of every month at Visart Video here in Charlotte in the Eastway Shopping Center. But yeah, I'd love to have you. It'd be great, and it's been a great experience so far, and I'm really looking forward to the next one on Monday, October 6th.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
awesome. Brian, I read your bio.
Hmm.
You have 30 years of acting and performance experience.
Hmm.
How did you get started in that world? And then how has it brought you here as a public speaking coach?
Oh my goodness, here we go. So I went to a small liberal arts college in Salisbury, North Carolina called Catawba College on a golf scholarship.
Oh, wow.
Oh, not what you were
Okay.
expecting. Not
Not
what
what
you
I
were
was
expecting.
expecting. Do you still play? Sorry, follow-up question. Do you
I
still play?
rarely. Although I probably play better now than I ever did, and I enjoy it more than I ever did. But I hardly ever get the chance to play. It just is no longer
Yeah.
a priority. And I accepted a long time ago that I really suck at golf, and I'm not going to turn professional like I had hoped at some point. So, you let go of one absurd dream and you step into another. And that's what happened. I lost my scholarship. They said,
Oh,
"You
no.
stink." Oh yeah, no, they
Oh,
kicked me off the team
no.
my sophomore year and they took my scholarship back. And they said, "We don't know where you fit into the program anymore." That was the actual phone call that I got. And so all of a sudden, my
Wow.
my student athletic career was over and I had all this free time on my hands. And so I did what any normal person would do and I went into stand-up comedy. Isn't that what everybody
Yep.
does in that
Yes,
situation?
exact
Golf
exact
scholarship,
trajectory.
stand-up comedy. But that's what happened. I got involved with the student activities on campus. I had all this free time on my hands all of a sudden. What do I do now? And I became the house MC for all the comedians and musicians and performers who would come on campus on the weekends to entertain, the on-campus students. And then that led into me, well, one of the comedians asked me to open for him one night. I gave him a tour of the campus. He was one of those comedians that would come on and be like, "I want to find out about the school and incorporate a couple of jokes into the act." And when I was giving him a tour around the campus, I made some offhand joke about a handmade poster for some group meeting that was going to be coming up. And he said, "If you don't say that joke on stage tonight," he says, "I'm going to steal that from you." So it
Oh,
was
wow.
really just kind of here you go, challenge, boom, challenge dropped. And I had to decide if I was going to, take that step. And I mean, look, you do improv, you know how hard that is. So I'm certain that you have an appreciation for how difficult stand up is. So
Oh,
imagine doing
absolutely.
stand up in front of your college campus, in front of all your friends. That's who your first
Nope.
audience is.
Nope, nope,
Yeah,
nope, 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 nope,
that's what
nope.
so that's what mine was, and shockingly, it went incredibly well, and I think it's because they probably weren't expecting me to do that, to really be funny. I don't think anyone had really seen that side of me before. So, I got some really good laughs for those first couple of minutes that I, attempted to do stand up, and I thought, "Oh, I want more of this. This is
Yeah, it's
fun."
addictive.
Yeah. So, yeah, I did stand up for 3 years, every chance I had, and then after I graduated, there weren't there was only one comedy club in Charlotte at the time. The Comedy Zone was the only one that existed, and so, yeah, there weren't a lot of outlets to try and perform, to try and work on things. And my roommate was a theater graduate in the same school that I went to, and he had just finished doing a play over at Theater Charlotte, and he said, "You should go and audition for the next shows that they're doing." He said, "You'd be great." Now, I didn't go to school to be an actor. I got my degree in communications, which is connected to the whole speaking thing. So it's a little bit of a full circle story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Okay," I went and auditioned. I mean, I had 3 years of stand-up experience, but I didn't have any real acting experience. And they were doing these 2 plays by Neil Simon. If you're familiar with who Neil Simon is, classic American playwright. There's the Neil Simon Theater in New York City. Is one of the Broadway theaters. He's won the Pulitzer Prize and whatever. The
Yeah,
Odd Couple.
I'm gonna shake my
Yeah,
head, I feel like I should
yes.
know this, but
If you've
yeah,
ever
yeah.
heard of if you ever heard of The Odd Couple, that was one of his biggest hits. Anyway,
Ah, got it,
so
yes.
anyway, yeah, so I got the lead in the show
What?
when I auditioned. Yeah, I got the lead. So and actually it was 2 plays at the
It's
same time. It was
incredible.
yeah, it was the first and third part of a trilogy that he had written. Brighton Beach Memoirs is the first, Biloxi Blues, which is a very, well-known movie that Matthew Broderick was in, is the second part, and Broadway Bound was the third part, and they were doing the first and third parts together in rolling rep, meaning that you did one show one night, the next show the next night. On the weekends, you did both shows in the same day.
Oh
So
my
it was
god, that's
yeah,
exhausting.
it was baptism by fire. I had the lead in both of these plays at the same time. And yeah, the guy who was the director was a guy named Lon Bumgarner, who is still to this day the greatest acting coach and best director I've ever worked with, and he became one of my best friends and mentors and closest. Yeah, we were really, really close for a very long time. He's the reason that I became an actor because one night after rehearsal, he said, "You need to be doing this for a living." And
Wow.
so, yeah, it's just one of those things that just changes you when you have someone when you're feeling something inside. And I honestly, I always wanted to be an actor. It was one of those kind of, closeted secrets of like, yeah, this would be really great, but who gets to do this? It just wasn't a reality. And so
Yeah,
when this guy said, "You need to be doing this for a living," again, it was similar to the stand-up comedy thing where somebody put it in front of me and I was like, I have to make a choice now. Do I pursue this? Because it seems like it's a pretty popular response or answer where people are agreeing, going, "Yes, you should be doing this for a living." And so I did. I made that phone call to my parents and I was like, "I'm going to become an actor." And there was a woman who was in the cast with us who was also a local talent agent. And she said, "You're coming with me." And they signed me to the agency and they started sending me out for movies and TV shows and commercials and voiceovers and corporate stuff. And 30 plus years later, they're still my agents. And yeah, that's how it happened.
what a dream.
Crazy.
That I
Kinda
don't
crazy.
think he could have written that better, like, if he
I think
tried that whole
but if you
that path.
did, it'd be a really bad movie if somebody wrote that. They'd be like, "Oh, of course it happens that way." Yeah. I mean, granted, I'm not a famous person. Anyone who's looking at me or listening to this right now is like, "We don't know who the hell this guy is." But yeah, no, I became one of those nameless, faceless working actors. Fortunately, I was able to cobble, enough of a career together to make it work. And I was able to make it last for well over 30 years. And, that's certainly one of the big achievements, I would say. I'm one of the lucky ones that's been able to exist in this industry for as long as I have.
Just having somebody believe in you and say, "You should be doing this full time," or "You should go into this." I don't
Mhm.
think everyone gets that, and I'm just thinking of myself, like, I don't think I've ever had anyone be like, "You're great for the," like, just having that belief is
Right,
amazing, right? And it
right.
kind of validates, like, what you've already been thinking, but you were scared to say. So and it also sounds
Yeah,
like just timing was on your side. I
absolutely.
question there, did they know when they cast you in as the lead, did they know you were a newbie at
Mhm.
acting? Like, they were willing to, like, kind of
Yes.
teach you some of the, like, things that you
Yes.
probably should have known?
Yes, I absolutely remember having the conversations with Lon, the director, and, reminding him that it was like, "I've never d" 'cause he even asked me, he was like, "Do you wanna take this on?" He was like, "It's both plays." And, I said, "Yes, I do, but I'm scared shitless. I don't know what I'm doing, but I really wanna do it." And he told me, he said, "I'm not gonna let you fall on your face. I'm not gonna let you go out there and embarrass yourself." Basically, he's like, "I got you." So,
Mhm.
when you've got someone yeah, geez, now you're making me look at this in a whole different from a whole different perspective of, how could yeah, it is kind of storybook in that regard of, not only did I have this opportunity, but I had someone who was basically laying everything on the line and going, "I'm telling you that I didn't make a mistake. By choosing you, I know that I made the right decision, and I'm gonna prove it to you and everybody else," you know?
Wow.
So, it's kind of like, how could I screw that up? Yeah,
How could you say no? Yeah, that's
right.
incredible. I imagine your parents said yes and to in that phone call too. "Hey, mom and dad, I'm gonna be an actor," and they're like, "Yes, Brian, and we'll support you 100%." Is that also in the storybook?
They were a lot quieter than that, and I think they said, "Okay, and." Not necessarily yes, and. They said,
Not
"Okay,
bad.
and" yeah, no, no. My parents are wonderful. They are very supportive, and they were just very, very fearful, My parents were
Of
never the
course.
people to say, "No, you can't do that." They were never like, "No, we won't allow." Never. It was just more of, "We don't think this is possible." Not that you can't, but it was more of, "These things don't happen to us. That's for other people."
Mm.
So, I don't
Mhm.
see how that's gonna work out because we don't get to do what we wanna do. We do what we have to do. We're those people,
Mhm.
you know? So, they were supportive in that they weren't discouraging, but I mean, I still to this day, after 30 plus years later, no matter what level of success that I've had, no matter how many times they've seen me, and they've seen every movie, every TV show, they've seen me on stage a number of times. They used to come out and see me do stand-up when I was, when I was doing that. But even after all those years of doing it, I still feel like they look at me like I'm an alien. Like they look at me and they go, "We're not sure what just happened. We see you doing it. I see you on the TV. I don't understand what's going on." Or we watched you in this play. It's I mean it's not it's like how do you learn all those lines times 10? I don't understand. Yeah, I do. I feel like they look at me like an alien. Like I'll come off stage and they don't really know how to talk to me, you know? I think it's just like this kind of weird experience for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. I They can't quite, like, what is it,
Yep.
let go or, like, find the belief or,
Or
and
just, because
yeah.
most people go to a job and, do a thing. And it's what do you do? I
What
see
is
what
your
you're doing,
job?
but how did this all come to be? Because they see the finished product. They don't see all the work behind the scenes. They don't see all the
Right.
rehearsals. They don't see all the auditions. They don't see all the frustration. They don't see all the stuff that you didn't get. you know? And then, there
Mhm.
were times where it was side by side comparisons where, my mom, God love her, at times would say, "Is that it?" It's like I'd show up for one scene, I only have, like, a couple of lines, and she was like, "You did more on this other show," and it's like, "Yes, I did. This is a different job. This is not the same one." Again, I think there is sort of a corporate 9 to 5 mindset of, "Don't you work your way up the ladder?" And it's, "Yeah, no, not really. Not in this." There's no guarantees. There's no hierarchy of like, "Alright, you've done 1 line on an episode of, Law& and Order. That doesn't mean the next one you get 5 lines." It's not yeah, no, you're
Right.
lucky you're lucky if you get another one-liner.
Oh
So,
god.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, or
Parents are
you've got
fun.
multiple scenes and you're in half the show, and then the next one you're only in 1 scene. It's what the heck? What'd you do
Or
wrong?
your scene gets cut too, and they're
Oh
like,
my
"Wait, I
god,
thought you were gonna
yes.
be in this?" Yeah.
Yeah, you tell everyone, and then you're like, "Oh, this is the most embarrassing thing." Yep. "Where are you? When does it happen? When is it coming?" And you're just going, "Mm,
I love that. Was that it?
was that it?
Thanks,
Yes,
mom.
that was it."
Thanks.
You know how many people I had to beat out to get, "Is that it?" You know? Do you know how many other people auditioned for "Is that it?" Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Brian, I imagine in this journey, you did a little bit of improv, right, along the
Mhm.
way? Like,
Yeah.
ho can you can you speak to your improv experience, and did you enjoy it? Because I know some actors, you're trained actors, like, improv's a little hard or difficult, so
Right.
how'd you feel about it?
Well, again, I didn't go to school to be an actor, so I didn't have that formal training per se. I mean, when I
Right.
dove into it after doing that first play, then it was a lot of studio classes and workshops, and I kind of learned as I went. I was very fortunate that I ended up doing a lot of theater back to back to back, and so it was a lot of on the job training. Um, and I think because so much of my strength at the time was in comedy and
Mhm,
having that
mhm.
stand-up experience. Improv, I wanna say that it came naturally to me, but I had an instinct for it of just to just be in the moment and just go with it, and, if, "Hey, what if I throw this in right now? Let's see what happens." And my brain always kind of worked in that slightly quicker. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I belong on Whose Line Is It Anyway?" Because trust me, there are people who excel at improv in ways that I can't even comprehend. That's just mind blowing. But I was kind of naturally built for it in some regard. It actually goes into hell, the doing those first Neil Simon plays, still to this day, one of the greatest theatrical stage moments of my life.
Oh,
Um,
tell me, tell me.
yes, closing performance, very last show.
Oh my
So,
god.
Brighton Beach Memoirs is Neil Simon. It's basically his sort of his biography to some extent, and the character of Eugene is based on him as a kid. And so this is when he's around 14 or 15 years old, and it's either right before World War II or something like that during the Depression. So the father's out of work, the older brother is the only one working and bringing in a salary to try and support the whole family. And there's a scene where he comes home and he's gambled away his paycheck, and now he's all upset
Oh.
and he doesn't know what he's going to tell our parents and all that stuff. So we're in our bedroom, and he's got to tell me that he gambled away his paycheck. And the way that the scene is blocked, he's supposed to give me this brotherly shove onto the bed in the bedroom. So in this particular performance, he says he gambled away $17, and I say $17, and he pushes me to shut me up, and I hit the bed, and the bed collapses on the
Oh,
stage.
no.
Like, completely crash on the stage, and
And
there's props underneath the bed that we have to get out, throughout the rest of the scene and throughout the rest of the play, and so
oh
you
my
can just there's
god.
that moment of silence of like, "Ah," and you can hear the little bit of, chuckling from the audience because they know that wasn't supposed to happen, and Dana, do not ask me what came over me because this was actually part of the dialogue. I think it was supposed to be $17. What are you gonna tell Pop? And what I did is I said, $17? Who's gonna pay to fix my bed? And the place went
Yes.
insane. The place went
Yes.
insane. The other actor, Brian Close, who was a really good friend of mine, poor guy, like, it just hit him square on the chin, and he couldn't hold it together. He had to turn upstage. He was completely gone, and I've never heard like such a sustained wave of laughter ever in my life. So it was one of those moments where what made me just feel so emboldened to be like, I'm going to ad lib right now in this moment of chaos because the audience saw it. We all know that it happened, and this line would fit in perfectly right. And it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. So, I had those instincts from kind of from day one, and to be able to just, be spontaneous and create things like we do in improv, just through, hey, here's a scenario, here's a suggestion, here's an insane set of circumstances, go. I was always
Mhm.
pretty shameless and open in that way that I was willing to explore certain things. I had my obstacles and my, stopping points and my hurdles just like anybody else, in improv classes that I had taken since then. I certainly had my moments where, somebody threw something at me and I just went, blah, just
Yeah.
dropped it. Yeah. Yes, and goes out your head real quickly sometimes. You're like, "What? How is this porcupine on fire? I don't know what to do with this." Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I've got nothing. You just
Literally.
all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, nope, the tank is empty." Yeah,
Mhm. Been
and
there
it's the
many times.
yes, yes. So I mean, it's helped me throughout my entire career, whether it be on camera, commercials, voiceover, theater, doing actual improv, teaching classes, doing public speaking, you name it. I mean, having that skill in my arsenal has been priceless for my entire career, because you have that just spontaneous interaction with other people. You learn that skill of just being present and alive in the moment. So when somebody throws something at you, and you talked about it in the intro of like he's faced the hecklers, Y yeah, I mean, just it's one of those things where it's, "Okay, you're gonna throw something at me, I'm gonna throw something back." It may not land, it may not win, but I mean, I've got something like, "I'm in this with you. Come on, let's go. Let's see where it goes." It has served me at a number of turns.
Well, and you mentioned you always had that kind of quick brain, kind of quick thinking or just
Mhm.
kind of ready for it. And that certainly helps. But I will say, like for improv, what they teach at least is that you don't have to be quick thinking, like you don't have to be super witty. It's more the like
Right.
judgment zone isn't there.
Mhm.
Like something in your brain, like that judgment switch isn't flipped up. And so you feel like you can be more creative or you can think quicker on the spot. And then you're not judging that line going, oh no, I shouldn't say that because it's not, we didn't rehearse it. Instead, you just said that line, who's going to pay for my bed?
Yep.
And, say you're sorry after. But like
Right.
you didn't judge yourself in the moment. And then that allowed for this like amazing moment to come up because again, you were so present too in the
Right.
moment too. So
Right.
I mean, it does help. It helps to feel like you can think quicker and, like, have that confidence, but
Mhm.
it's also just having that, like, judgment piece not in the way.
Absolutely, and of course, as you know, like, that's the hardest thing to really feel comfortable with, of just going, "I'm wide open." To it, like you said,
Okay.
judgment free, being unapologetically you in the moment and just, yeah, let's again, let's see what happens.
Well, and something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and it was one of my last episodes that I recorded, is about uncertainty and kind of the uncertainty of life, but also just, like, in improv, in public speaking. At least what I get nervous about leading up to an event, and I still get nervous. I've conquered my fear of speaking, but I still get nervous. And I think it's the uncertainty of how it's gonna go.
Mhm.
Will the audience like it? In the sense, like,
Right,
will I reach my outcomes, my objectives? Will
right.
the message be received? Will I put out a good product? That
Mhm.
kind of thing. And I do think that's a big thing in public speaking is the uncertainty and
Absolutely.
like, having a good relationship with it, and I'm sure as an actor, a speaker, I mean, there's so much uncertainty in your
Sure.
work.
Yeah, you have no idea how your audience is gonna respond. You have something in mind that you hope that it goes a certain way, but once you're there, you have to let all of that go, because then you're just making it
Mhm.
about yourself. You're making it about your own personal outcomes and what you want and what you're striving
Yep.
for, and you're not there for them. You know as well as I do, the reason you're doing the improv, yeah, it's fun to do, but you're doing it for them. You're doing it for the people sitting out in the audience. It's for their experience. They came to see what you have prepared, what you want to share for them. Public speaking, stand up, any live stage performance is no different. It's not about you, it's about your audience. So,
Mhm.
you have to let go of whether or not they like, worrying about, are they gonna like me? Are they not gonna like me? Is my story gonna land the way that I had prepared in my head? Because if it doesn't, well, then I'm really screwed and thrown off. You can't. You've got to let all of that go. You have no control over it because you have no idea what they're
Exactly.
thinking. You have no idea what they're expecting. You have no idea how they're being affected by it. There are so many nights in the theater, if you're doing a comedy especially, where one night the place is just going crazy, nothing
Mhm.
but uproars of laughter. You go back the next night, you do the same show, and you get a
Wah,
third
wah,
of that
wah.
reaction. And then you think, what the hell's wrong with the audience? And then you check with the audience, and the audience says, we loved it. We thought it was great. But people respond differently. It hits them in a different way. So you don't know what they're getting from it. You don't know what they're taking away from it. And yeah, because you put in your own preconceived notions of how it's supposed to go. And it's like, let them decide how it's supposed to go. The only thing that you can do is prepare and share with them, and the rest of it is out of your control.
I love that. Exactly. And I've started saying uncertainty is my friend
Hmm.
because I can get very anxious as a performer and speaker, the anxiety is real. And like I just say, well, what if it goes well? Right? Instead of what goes wrong. What if it goes well? And then there's always something that comes up. A slide is wrong, or there's a misspelling, or technology doesn't work. I think I saw in one of your posts, did the power go out at the Creative Mornings
Yeah.
event?
Yeah. Before
Yeah,
the thing
right before
started.
you were supposed to go on?
Well, but right before the actual event started. Yeah, 15 minutes
Ah,
before, like, in the sort of the preamble when everyone's getting there and just mingling about and getting coffee and talking with each other
oh my
and getting
gosh.
excited for the event itself. Yeah, the power went out in the whole building, and it was just like, "Oh." And their AV guy, who I knew, he decides, so now I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, "Well, how do I need to be prepared if the lights don't come back on?" And he pulls me aside and he's like, "Let me tell you a story." And I'm thinking, "Right now?" And his
Do we have
story
time for
was
this?
right, and his story was basically, "The show must go on." And I'm like,
Mm.
"I'm sure you probably know this." "Yeah, I do, man, and I'm not gonna get that 4 minutes back that you just took to tell me what I already know. I appreciate it." Yeah, but thankfully, the lights came on literally at the very last minute,
Oh my
and
god.
everything went the way that they had planned accordingly. But of course, again, there's that moment, oh, there's a whole 'nother kind of level of electricity in the room now, no pun intended, because there's just that thing, that unprepared moment of chaos or spontaneity that no one prepared for, and it's, "Oh, now things feel a little different," and I don't know, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's like the energy in the room, it's palpable.
Yeah. And, we people in general, I'd say nervous speakers or people starting out kind of fear that too, like
Mhm.
something going wrong or something
Right.
unexpected. But at least in my experience with the improv training, there's going to be something that goes wrong. And now you
Mhm.
have the skills to handle it and even throw a nice one-liner or like it's a
Right.
funny throwaway or it's a callback or like it can be
Yes.
used to your advantage. And it may not be
Right.
like the funniest thing ever, but you acknowledge it and then the it's something that you get
Exactly.
to share with the audience.
Because they saw it happen, they were there too. Everybody in the room knew that the lights went out. Everybody on in the play that I did saw the bed break. You can't pretend that these things, didn't happen. You lost your place in your speech. You got your slide didn't come up the way that you wanted to. There was a misspelling. Everybody saw it. You can't pretend that it didn't happen. So you've got two choices. You can let it ruin you, or you can run towards it. You can call out the
Mm,
elephant in the room, you can acknowledge it. And I am a big fan of, don't run away from the scary things, run towards them. Run towards them. And
I love
honestly,
that.
the audience will cheer for you, I think, every time if you run towards it as opposed to running away from it.
Brian, what's your experience in doing public speaking? It seems like you were kind of a quote unquote natural at it. Like you just kind of started doing stand up because someone challenged you to do it. I mean, Did you ever not like public speaking? Did you have to learn to love it, or it's always just kind of been a thing you kind of do?
No, I mean, there's a very funny well, I don't know if it's funny to me because I lived through it, and if you go to my website, I kind of put a synopsis of the story on there, that the year was 1976. This is true.
Ooh,
Yeah, the
vintage
very first
year.
time right, the year of our bicentennial, and I was in kindergarten at the time. And
Nice.
and our school put on, like, a bicentennial play, and I was Paul Revere in the school play, and I had this monologue at 6 years old, and I had to
Yeah,
stand in front of the entire
that's
student body and
impressive.
staff. Yeah, and I was the only one that, like, knew it,
You
and I am
crushed.
certain word for word, and I can only tell you that it is because my mom was like, "Do it again, do it again, do it again," and I was just, like,
Later.
repeating this thing over and over. I was 5, 6 years old. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, "Mom's telling me to do this again." So that when I got up there, it's like someone just kind of, like, flipped the switch, and I just went, "An an 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 an," and spit out the words that were programmed into my brain. Everyone apparently was like, "Oh my god, look at this kid. He's in kindergarten, and he just did this whole thing." I only know that that happened because I was told that it happened, and there are photographs of me there in there, my little Paul Revere costume. So, I make jokes that it was like, "Ah, yes, I was a public speaking prodigy at a very young age, right out of the gate."
Just
No,
feather in your cap.
when I became, in those awkward years of self-awareness and self-consciousness, and you don't want anyone looking at you, or you don't ever wanna, fall on your face or look stupid in front of your friends when you're a teenager and all that stuff. No, I went through the same stuff like anybody else. It was in high school, I would say, where teachers or advisors or whatever were trying to push me and encourage me to, hey, we're going to give you this opportunity to speak. And I would take the challenge because I had so much respect for them that it's okay if they're asking me to do this, then it's something that I need to try and do. I was,
Mm.
yeah, I had the same kind of nerves and just rambling stupidity of I don't know what I'm doing up here. But I don't know. I just it was like anytime I was faced with I'm gonna call it a challenge as opposed to an opportunity just because of the difficulty of it. It's not something that came natural to me, I don't think, but it's something that I was willing to face that fear. I was willing to face that fear and put myself out
Nice.
there and look like an idiot
Yeah.
and fall on my face. Because at the same time, people weren't, I realized this later on, it's you didn't get made fun of because none of those people would have traded places with you. Nobody out there
True.
in that audience wanted to be where you were. So the fact that you even had the courage to stand up there, they were like, You did it. Wow. I couldn't have done that." Yeah.
Very
This
true.
sure. So, no, it's just something that really developed over time. The stand-up had an awful lot to do with it, when you can start getting those laughs and you get them over and over again on the same joke and on the same bit or on the same beat, and you're like, "Oh, right. Yeah, you do kinda find your footing." And then because I had this voice, which was the biggest thing that came out of my communications degree was, you know, because I'm from Rhode Island, I had that Southern New England accent. I was parking the car and playing ball with my friends. I had this very
Yeah.
kind of standard American neutral voice and dialect. So I checked a lot of boxes. And so I became, I was good at memorization. So I started doing a lot of spokesperson work of me just talking directly to the camera, all those things, anything kind of
Nice.
stand up like, whether it was delivering corporate material or telling jokes and being entertaining or telling a story, I was getting a lot of practice in doing that.
Okay, I have an opposite
Okay.
school story.
All right. Perfect.
Uh, 5th grade, DARE graduation, it's the '90s, and we had tryouts to be the DARE graduation MC, and they picked a boy and girl, and I really wanted this
Okay.
part. I, like,
Uh-huh.
wanted to be the MC. So I, like, went all out in the audition, which was just in the classroom, like, I
Okay.
went all out. And then we get to the actual graduation part. I think I've got note cards in hand, and I stand up in front of like our parents and peers, and I just feel like the weight of the nerves. I mean, my legs are shaking, face is probably red, voice is
Mhm.
shaky, and like I get through it. I don't remember, but I bomb. In my mind, I bomb,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
And and that I think follows you. 5th grade, you're probably self-aware at that point too. I won't say, dare graduation or dare, ruin my public speaking, but maybe I will, dare really affected my public speaking from middle school to high school to college to early professional career. I mean, I really struggled with it. I just feeling those nerves and
Mhm.
feeling the all eyes on me moments, that
Yep.
spotlight moments that you talk about. I just couldn't handle it. I mean, I'd get through it, I'd do the school projects and I would never get any feedback.
Hmm.
You do these school projects for a grade and you get the grade on like the content, but never any feedback on your speaking ability. And so you just kind of go through and it's like, oh, I'm just not good at it. I'm not a natural speaker. It doesn't come naturally to me.
Right.
And anyway, so I hit my last straw moment as a young professional. I was working my dream job and I gave a presentation and it didn't go well. And I was
Mhm.
like, all right, this has followed me now into my work. And if I want to have any kind of career, I have to be able to speak better in front of people. I have to. And so I did Toastmasters. I,
Oh,
went
good.
through that whole journey
Yep.
and it helped me conquer my fear of public speaking, gave me the foundation to want to take improv classes and now here just talk and converse with awesome guests like yourself. So I don't know, it's been
Go
quite a
on.
journey. Those nerves never go away, I'll say,
Mm-mm.
like, like I said, I have those uncertainty moments, I get nervous more on the uncertainty of it, that it's coming up, it's gonna happen, but then
Right.
once I step on stage, boom, I'm in it, like, the legs aren't shaking, the voice is strong, like, I've trained
Yep.
for this now.
Yes.
So anyway, I share my story just in contrast to yours because I would see these natural speakers and be like, "Well, they were just born with it or they don't get nervous," and like, I do, and so it's just what it is, and you can train that, you can fix that, and and
You
you
can,
can, I
and
promised you can.
yeah, and I mean, look, I still get nervous. Of course, and I honestly, if the day that I stop being nervous is the day that I probably need to quit. I say
Mhm,
that to anybody. It's, if you're not feeling those butterflies in whatever capacity, like however you want to define them, then you're probably doing something wrong. There's to
mhm.
me, there's a very fine line between being nervous, being anxious, being stressed out, and being excited. You wanna get to that
Yes.
place where the nerves and the butterflies are coming from a place of excitement and anticipation, of this is gonna be fun, or I am looking forward to this. Yes, I still want it to go well, and yes, I'm concerned that I might say something stupid or do something to make myself look stupid, but I'm really looking forward to it. The example that I use is, I don't know if you're a sports fan at all, but I mean, just about any big championship game, after the Super Bowl, the winning team, they're always talking to whatever player, and the interviews right after, it's like, "How did you handle the nerves? How did you handle the moment?" or whatever, and, you'll hear them say, "I wasn't really nervous, I was really more excited." You'll hear that a
Totally.
lot, and it's you think about it, w they're playing on the biggest stage in the biggest game, once in a lifetime opportunity in front of how many tens of thousands of fans right there just in the stadium and the hundreds of millions of people watching around the world. How are you not nervous?
Mhm.
How can you not be? You know? So, there's definitely a relation there between nervous energy and excitement. And you want to be able to get to that place where the nerves don't cripple you or debilitate you in some way. You actually are able to use it to your advantage to help propel you forward and get you up on that stage and, use it as energy to give to the audience, and just again, let yourself have fun with it. Run into the fire, not away from it.
I think this is a great time to
Mhm.
take a quick break.
Okay.
We're gonna get some water to help our voices because it's
Sure.
important to take care of your voices. Brian's a voiceover artist. You gotta take care of that voice. And I wanna come back and keep going on that and talk about your speakeasy events and more like
Sure.
what it's like, what's the format, and then how it
Okay.
kind of helps people to run towards that fire, quote unquote.
Perfect.
So let's take a
Perfect.
quick break and we'll be right back. And we're back talking with Brian Lafontaine about all things public speaking, improv, acting, performance communications. I love it. Brian, I want to hear more. We talked about in the beginning the speakeasy
Mhm.
events. What made you want to start this program? And then tell us more like what's the format of it? Like
Mhm.
what do the speakers have to do? What does the audience get out of it?
Right. It came about from other people. Honestly, I had several people last year, unconnected, completely coincidental, approach me and say, "Hey, have you ever thought about starting a speaking group? You should think about starting a speaking group. There's not really anything like that around town. If you started a speaking group, I would come." And it just kind of kept coming up and coming up. I would say three, four, five different conversations. And I was like, all right, th- obviously this is showing up for a reason. So I need to pay attention
Mhm.
to this. And so, yeah, I've never really started organizations or groups or meetings or whatever. I've never tried to make the city or community a better place, Dana. That's not who I am.
Yeah,
Um, but
definitely
what
not.
yeah, this no. That's what a waste of time. But this just kept showing up and I did. I was like, "All right, I guess I need to pay attention to this." And I had to think about, okay, what would that look like if I did it? And what would you got to find a space because it's got to be in the same place all the time. You don't
Mhm.
want people trying to guess where you are all over town, and finding space is hard. And
Yeah.
uh somebody reminded me that Vizard Video has this great little black box theater space. And the thing was, I knew that they did, and I had forgotten about it. And on top of it, the woman who is the executive director is like one of my oldest actor friends. And she's one of my most favorite people. And I'm like, how the hell did I forget that Gina runs Vizart and they have this amazing space because I've done readings in there over the years. How stupid are you? And it's just this perfect environment because it's like a little comedy club. They do, I think they do improv there. They'll do movie screenings there.
Oh,
They'll do
nice.
readings there. They'll do art installations. They'll do jazz music, karaoke. They'll have acting
Oh,
classes.
fun.
It's just because the video store, Vizart Video I think they told me, is the largest video archive on the East Coast. It actually has nonprofit status. So
Oh,
there's an
wow.
educational element that they have to meet every year, to keep their status. And so I reached out to Gina and I said, I have this idea for a speaking group. And the most exciting thing for me was when I came up with the name because I was like, this is perfect. Because the place is tucked away kind of like behind the video store. It's very dark and it looks like a little, comedy club or nightclub. And I'm a big bourbon fan and I like playing with cocktails. And so I was like, speakeasy. And I was like, oh, this might be the best
Perfect.
part. The name is probably the best part of the entire the entire program.
Mhm.
Um, but I knew, just based off of other networking events that I had gone to, I was like, okay, it can only be a certain number of hours long. I need to be able to do it on a regular day and time, monthly. It needs to have that consistency. And so how do I work this out? So it's like, okay, I'm going to do it from 6 to 8 because at the same time, that was the only time that they had available. So I'm like, all right,
Oh,
what can I do in a
perfect.
2 hour? What can I do in a 2 hour window? And it's like, all right, first half hour, they'll show up, people just getting there from work. So everyone's just trying to get there to be there, at a certain time. They've got a little cafe connected to it where you can get beer and wine and coffee and snacks. So at the same time, it's like, yeah, you can actually come and have a drink and hide in this dark little room, kind of a little secret society sort of thing, even though we were advertising it. But we were relying just as much on word of mouth to, spread the word, just like people had told you, you need to go to Speakeasy.
Mhm.
So clearly the plan is working. Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, first half hour of that where people get to just mingle about and talk to each other and exchange business cards and network. And then the middle hour is when we actually have the speaking part of the program. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do in an hour? So I had the way that it's set up is I have spaces for 5 speakers. And when you go to sign up, when
Okay.
you go to the registration, you can sign up as a speaker or as a spectator. There's only 5 speaking slots. So those go pretty quick and you get 5 minutes on stage. And you can, if you're working on a keynote speech or you've got a TEDx that's coming up or something like that, or you've got a pitch presentation or just your own corporate pitch or whatever it might be, you want to tell a story. You just want to stand up in front of a group of people and not, pee your pants. You just want to face that initial fear of standing in front of people with truly with the lights shining on you in
Right.
a more theatrical, supportive, creative environment. I had spent the first year and a half of my public speaking coaching work trying to put myself into a corporate setting, and it just kinda hit me. I was like,
Mm,
"Nope, I need to get them to come to me," meaning I need to take them out of the corporate setting and bring them into the more creative, theatrical, performance-based arena to actually have a stage to see what that's like to be in front of an audience in that environment. And
right.
it's really made a huge, huge difference for a lot of people it's again, as doing improv, it's a safe space. It's a place where you go to try things out, fall on your face, make mistakes, do things over, absolutely no judgment. The only parameters that I put on it is like, just given where we are in the day and culture, it's please no politics, no religion. You can talk about anything else that you want. I really
Yeah.
want it to be what they need it to be, and so they get 5 minutes on stage, sort of open mic nights. I'll give you the proverbial red light once we get to that 5 minutes. And then
Okay.
I give them, a little bit of feedback and we work on it. I'll get a sense of like, why are you doing this? Is this something for work that you're working on? Is this a keynote that's in progress? Or, why are you telling this story? Why are you? And then try to build it from there of like, all right, so what can we do? How can we take this from here? And here's what I'm seeing of what you're doing on stage. And it gives me a little opportunity to coach them a little bit, give them a sense of what it's like to work with me and just make some
Ah,
improvements right
nice.
there on the spot for the spectators as well. The people who are there, who are interested in what we're doing, who are possibly working up the courage to take the stage one day, they actually get to see what it's like. Like we're watching him work with this person live in front of us. So we get to
Yeah.
see how, it's not something that we need to be afraid of. It's not a humiliating experience. The last thing that I want to do is to embarrass anyone and make it this traumatic, nightmarish experience. As a matter of fact, it's the
Right.
exact opposite. So for them to either experience it by being the speaker on stage or be the spectator in the audience of like, oh, this doesn't have to be that freaking scary. And look, everybody feels the same way. It can be fun and it can be creative. And even just those little moments of, oh, wow, look how that changed. And look how this changed this. And look how they came alive there. You know, they end up walking out of there going, oh, I want to do more of this. Yeah, just like you're saying, most people now are having to speak more. They're finding themselves in positions where everybody's got a platform and everybody's got a message. Everybody's got a company or an organization or a group that they're trying to promote, or they're working their way up,
Mhm.
the corporate ladder. And that next level is forcing them to, yeah, be more of a public face. And so everybody has to speak at some point, and most people are really uncomfortable with it. It stresses them out. They face the same fears and anxieties that the rest of us do. And we rarely get the opportunity to work on these things in a group setting and rehearse these things. I mean, it's called public speaking. It's hard to work on these things in private, you know?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and have you gone to any of, like, The Moth before? Because it sounds a little bit like The Moth, the storytelling organization. Have
Heard
you
about
been to
it.
any?
Because I know that they have it in New York. I know. Do they have it in LA? I don't know if
Yes,
they
and
have one. I don't know if they have one
the
here.
traffic and the parking, I never was, and then COVID too, I was never able
Sure.
to make it in person. I did attend some, like, virtual ones, but it's a similar format of, like,
Okay.
you get 5 minutes to tell a story based on the theme of the
Hmm.
evening, and so
Okay.
that was my question to you is there any kind of theme? I mean, you said it's kinda if it's something you're working on, a
Right.
story, a 5-minute set, it
Hmm.
really can be anything that
Hmm.
you want to speak about, which is what I
Right.
struggle with. I go, "Well, what do I want it to?" I don't know, like 5 minutes, what
Yeah.
I need
And
more
there's no
time, and then
well, but the thing is that when you're signing up in most cases weeks in advance. So
right.
I'm giving you the opportunity to prepare something ahead of time. It doesn't have to be finished, polished, or anything like that. It just I would like you to put some thought into it and some
Yeah.
preparation because you think about it in that same way. If you're going to go and give a keynote speech, you're not just going to wing it. Or if you're
Oh,
giving a corporate
no.
presentation or you're doing just a monthly, sales meeting, I hope to God you're not just winging it and making it up as you go along. There has to be a purpose behind it. It's like, why are we listening to this person? What is it that you're sharing, that you're offering us that we need to pay attention to. And because public speaking is a visual medium, just like this is, anything that's done in this little box, anything that's done live and in person, you I've always have to remind people, it's like, this is a visual medium. We can see you. And this is no different than
Mhm.
my work as an actor forever. Anytime I auditioned, anytime I stepped on stage, anytime I stepped in front of a camera, it was my job to keep your attention. That's my biggest responsibility ever, ever. And as a speaker or a
Mhm.
presenter, it's the same thing. You're
Yeah.
trying to keep people from staying off their phones. So
Staying
you've
off
got to,
phones.
yes, it has to be an engaging, active, dynamic, you know, it is a performance in some way. So it's the same skill set, and you have to know how to be able to harness that and use those skills. You're not just delivering information, you know. So there's got to
Mhm.
be a reason behind why we're listening to you. There's got to be a purpose behind what you're saying, and it needs to mean something to you. If it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not going to mean anything to us.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, all that's helpful because I would love to participate in both regards as an audience member and a speaker too at some point
Yeah.
too. And I like that you make it this thing. I assume do they have a microphone that they
Mhm.
use and like
I
kind of
mean,
the
I
whole
give it to them as an
experience?
they can use a microphone if they want to, or they can just, speak to the room. You can go either way. I give them that option.
Yeah. Well, because what I found just in my experience, like in Toastmasters and stuff, there's not a lot of microphone training, and
Mhm.
so but then if you go to, like, a corporate event and it's, like, a big thing and there's a microphone, the microphone always kind of scared me or
Sure.
intimidated me a bit because your voice is amplified, and now I'm hearing my voice being amplified, and it was a whole judgment thing. This is years ago, but, like, it was a whole thing, and so I actually appreciate the offering of the microphone, like, having that kinda training to
Mhm.
be able to use it, I think helps too.
Yeah, and, I probably need to encourage people to use it more, but honestly, for, a lot of the people who are taking the stage for the first time, that alone is
For sure.
enough of
Yeah.
a hurdle for them to overcome.
Yeah. When I was starting out in Toastmasters, so Toastmasters was 5 to 7-minute speeches, and when I was starting out and more like I conquered my fear, it took me about 10 speeches, about a year to conquer my fear, like, stop the legs from shaking, like, have a shaky voice, and actually, like, kinda have fun with it. It took me about a year to
Right.
conquer that. And but then it took a really long time, I'll say, like, probably another 3 or 4 years to really let go of my notes. Like, when I
Mhm.
would sign up to give a speech, I would write out word for word everything I wanted to say, and it would
Mhm.
be like 12 to 15 minutes long, and then I'd have to cut it. I would practice, but more the act of, like, writing it and then reading it a lot would kind of be my practice, but I was more robotic, and I would get the feedback that I was a polished speaker
Sure.
and that I wouldn't say a lot of filler words like, and
Mhm.
like, I learned
Right.
and trained to not say those and to have the pauses, and I loved being a polished speaker, but at some point, it got to be I was more, like, robotic, like, going through the words and, like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this gesture with this phrase that I'm about to say," and
Right.
there was something, like, in between me and the audience, and it
Mhm.
was me thinking, like, "What's the next line? What's the next words?"
Yes.
And
Yes.
I've seen you post a little bit about this. So how do you coach people who are kind of in that mode of like, I've got to memorize word for word, I've got to say word for word what I want to say?
I mean, you do have to. I think that you absolutely need to make sure that your speech, if you're giving if you're giving a keynote, we use that as the example, or any of it actually, you need to have a structure as to a beginning, the middle, and an ending. Like, how is this thing going to go? What's the direction that this talk is going to go in? You need to know how it starts, what the points are, and how you want it to end. I think people need to be very, very specific and clear on how they want to start and how they want to finish. I think that's
Mhm,
really important as far as the getting the audience's attention right from the get-go in a very clean and specific way, and then ending on a very specific note, on a very specific closer, you know. And the stuff in the middle, it's look, you already know the information. Otherwise, they wouldn't have asked
mhm,
you to talk about it. You just need to figure out what order you want to put it in. And you need to be familiar enough with it so that if you do get things out of order, you can kind of float back in and out. And this is where the improv skills would come into play. Of, oh, you catch yourself in your head of, oh crap, I jumped this part, and I do need to get back to it, and finding that, using that skill set to weave that back in without them, again, they don't know what you've prepared, and they don't know how you've
Exactly.
prepared it. So
Mhm.
you need to, this is where preparation comes in. This is where it's not improv. You do need to be prepared. You need to put some thought into it. You need to spend some time with it. Most people, in my opinion, are way underprepared. They're
Mhm.
way underprepared, and a lot of people, I get work with a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm just really good at just kind of going off the cuff and winging it. Great. I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking about your audience.
Yeah.
What's going to be the most impactful for them? How much of your winging it are they retaining? I'm sure that you
Right.
sound intelligent and you sound like you know what you're talking about. But if there's no real direction to it, if there's no continuity or connection, or there's no point to it, then what are they really leaving with? Like, again, they're showing up for you. They're showing up because you have information that can help them. You've got experience, expertise. You have a responsibility to them to share something with them that's going to be worthwhile for them. They can be anywhere in the world right now. They decided to be in that room with you because someone told
Mhm.
them this woman named Dayna has great knowledge and experience and information on this particular subject, and it
Right.
could be really helpful and useful. So you need to put some thought into it. I'm not saying you need to memorize a script word for word, because I know for a lot of people that's death, but you need to know, okay, at this point I'm going to talk about this particular part of the subject, and I know how to get from point A to point B. Then I'm going to move on to this one, and then to this one. It doesn't have to be memorized word for word, but you've got to go over it, in my opinion, a number of times. You've got to, be familiar with the subject matter and the flow of it. It's no different than if you're going to come see me do a play. If I haven't rehearsed that script and I whip that script out, you know, 2 minutes into the show, you're going to go, what the hell is this? You know,
Right. For sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we rehearse. That's why we rehearse. And that's why we rehearse for so long, so that when you come into the theater, when the bed breaks, I can keep going with the show and I can find a way to cover for that moment. And,
Exactly.
in many cases, you don't know that that wasn't supposed to happen. That's why rehearsal is so important. That's why preparation is so, so important.
I'm hearing all that and thank you. Thank you for that. That's good. That's really great advice. It's important to hear because as an improviser, I'm like, I could talk about anything. I can
Hmm.
wing
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
And
you can.
I do more workshops that involve more like debrief and discussion
Hmm.
than like, but there's a good that's good feedback on like the intro and the closing and really like crisping that up. And I've
Yes.
kind of felt that in my work of like I just improvements. There's always improvements you can make, and that's something I would like to work on as a speaker of like really like firming that up and making it strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if, I feel like we're in this place now where, again, so many people are speaking. A lot of people are
Mhm.
just making it up as they go along. And because we're all collectively there in the room, there's a level of good enough that we'll accept. We'll be like, no, it was good enough. Yeah, it's good enough.
Mhm.
All right. And if everybody's good enough, well, then what separates you from anybody else? What's going to make you
Yeah.
stand out? If all we're seeing is good enough, then we're tuning out. We're not really listening. We're not really paying attention. If you can get 10% more retention, if you can get 20% more retention, what a huge difference that is from the next
Right.
person who's coming up there. Yeah. Again, public speaking is not just a recitation of facts and data, or expository information. It's a sharing of ideas. We want to know how you feel about this. We want to know what you think about it. Is it good? Is it bad? We're taking from you how we're supposed to feel about it. We're getting
Mhm.
that from you. So you've got to have that investment in what you're talking about. Again, if it doesn't mean anything to you, it's not going to mean anything to us. You know,
Exactly.
how do you want me to feel when this is over? Again, we talked about how
Mhm.
you can't control their reaction or response, but you need to have an intention behind it. You need to have, to use actor speak, you've got to have an objective behind why you're telling me this information. And if that's not there, then, we'll sit there and we'll look at you politely and we'll, check our Instagram and all that stuff and, respond to
Check
text
our
messages. And when you're
email.
done, we'll
Mhm.
applaud. Yay. And then you'll send us your PDF that we'll delete and whatever. But yeah, what do you want us, again, what do you want us to walk away with in here? Not just in here.
That's great advice. Brian, I was checking out your website before we recorded, doing my research, as
Sure.
a podcast host does, and
Right.
you list confidence, clarity, and character,
Mhm.
and that's what you help speakers improve on.
Uh-huh.
And I was just, what do you mean by character there? 'Cause when I hear character, I'm like, oh, a character, like in a play. But
Right.
what do you
Um,
mean by character?
well, I mean, to
Because
some
you
extent,
just
yeah.
touched on the confidence and clarity
Mhm.
piece. Yeah. So
Yeah,
what's
it
the
really
character?
refers more to just them as an individual person, who is, yeah,
Yeah.
your own personal character, not we're creating a character. No,
No, no,
honestly,
no.
it's the exact opposite. I'm not trying to get you to hide behind a different persona or anything like that. But
Right.
all those things that make you interesting, that make you interesting, all those things that you can bring to it that nobody else can because it's yours. That's what I'm referring to. All the things that make us, that we're self-conscious about because people have made us feel self-conscious about it over the years. All the things that people say, this is what makes you, makes you weird, makes you odd, or when, when you see yourself on camera or whatever, you're like, oh my God, I hate that about myself. Those are the things where I'm going like, that's the stuff that nobody else can bring to it. Only you can.
Mhm.
Instead of running away from it, run towards it. Because that's the stuff that you can bring to this that nobody else can do. I tell this story. There's the CEO that I was working with, or still work with, when we first started working together, and she was amazing. She has this incredible personality, phenomenal sense of humor. She's just one of those people that people are just naturally drawn to, and she just feel better just because she's there. And when we started working together, when she would work on her talks and her speeches, she would change.
Oh,
Her voice would
interesting.
change. Yeah, and the way that she carried herself would change, and the expression on her face would change.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I stopped her at one point, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Why are you changing who you are when you go into your talk?" And she started crying. And she said, "You're right." She said, "Because I see all these other female CEOs and I see, these strong, confident women who seem to have it all together and they're amazing. And I feel like that's what I need to be like in order to be a
Mm.
CEO." And I was like, "No, no, not no, no,
No,
because
no,
now
no.
you're trying to be like them. You're not giving us a chance to see you and the reason why people are drawn to you in the first place, all the things that make you insanely likable, lovable, successful, professional, all the things that make up the wonderment of you. You're denying us
Yeah.
that because none of those women can do what you can do." And as soon as she
Mhm.
was able to wrap her head around, what I like to, term unapologetically you, as soon as she was able yeah, to embrace that, she was off to the races, man. That's when you go up on stage and you're having a ball, you're having fun being there, and it should be fun. It should not be this
Yeah.
painstaking, like oral surgery type of experience for the speaker. If you're not having fun, nobody's having fun, you know.
Mhm.
So it's when I talk about, character, it's all those things that make all the things that only you can bring to it, and really just enhancing that and giving you the permission and courage to just let it go, take the rip the cap off, get your freak on.
Oh, perfect. I love all that. I'm gonna switch gears a bit. Brian, this podcast focuses on creative outlets, and the goal is to encourage people to try new things, get out of their
Hmm.
comfort zones, try new things.
Yes.
And you're clearly very busy. You have lots of hats that you wear: public speaking, acting, voiceover work.
Mhm.
speakeasy coordinator, manager, you've event host. Do you have any other hobbies you like to do or creative passions outside of that? I heard bourbon. I heard bourbon in
Oh, yeah,
there.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I love playing with cocktails. It's a lot of
Ah,
fun. Yeah, no, I when we moved into this house, it has a formal living room. You know how a lot of this house was built in 1972. So, it's who uses a formal living room anymore? This big wonderful
not
space
us.
that you decorate beautifully and no one ever uses because it's, oh,
I know.
this is when the mayor comes over to visit. Yeah, I don't know.
Right,
So,
of
yeah,
course.
this is when we have tea. So we were like, yeah. So we took the front living room and we turned it into this sexy bar, which again, kind of like, and I became such a fan of the whole cocktail scene, the craft cocktail scene, and a lot of the spaces that were built for that. And so I did, the whole reclaimed wood on one wall. I did brick on the other wall. I did the live edge bar and shelves and all that stuff. I made
Fancy.
it kind of industrial, farmhousey, a little combo of that, and just really started exploring playing with cocktails. And when we, because we like to, have parties and entertain, and we have a pretty fun Christmas party every year, and I get to play bartender because I've, built basically this small book of phenomenal recipes that I've acquired over the years because I'm not
That's
afraid to
awesome.
be at a cocktail bar with a really good bartender and watch what they're doing and be like, "What was that? What did you just make? What is this?" And I'll, in a lot of cases, I'll be like, "Can I get that recipe from you?" And most of the time, they'll go, "Yeah, here you go." And so I have I have an obscene booze collection. Yeah, that if you were visiting my house for the first time, you'd go, "Oh, you have a problem." You know, I have more booze than any human would consume in a lifetime, but it's just because you need this one for this, you need this one for this drink, you need that one for that drink.
Exactly.
It's like I'm never gonna drink all this stuff, but, when we have the parties, it's like, "What do you want me to make?" I can make all kinds of things. Yeah, that's one of the ones that I play with. Honestly, in whatever downtime that I have now, what other creative projects? Well, I mean, I'm going to be directing a play at the beginning of next year. I do
Oh,
some directing from
cool.
time to time. Yep, I was an assistant director earlier in the year on a show called The Play That Goes Wrong. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Nice.
Speaking of, yeah.
It sounds
Oh,
like a
yeah.
good title.
Well, yeah, you should because I mean, it was built out of this company. I think they called themselves were they the Goes Wrong company? It's a British company, and it was
That's
basically
awesome.
these improv actors who created this whole idea of everything that happens, anything that could possibly go wrong does go wrong, and they did the play that goes wrong. They have the Peter Pan that goes wrong. They have the Christmas Carol that goes wrong. They have it's their whole thing.
I love
So
that.
yeah, no, you need to check those guys out. You would thoroughly,
Right.
thoroughly appreciate what they do. It's brilliant, brilliant, but it's also absurd. So yeah, by the end of the show, like it's a play within a play. It's this theater company that's doing a play, and no joke, by the end of the show, the entire set has fallen down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Of course, it has to. With the title like that, it
Yes.
has to.
Yes. So yeah, that was earlier this year. Next year, I'll be directing a play called God of Carnage, if you're familiar with that. It was on
That's
Broadway.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's a lot.
And it is a lot. It is a lot. So I mean, the rest of the time is spending time with my amazing partner and our two dogs, and she and I will try and find just times to just be quiet and be like, "Hi, how are you? What are you doing today?"
Right.
Hi, I know we live in the same house, but I feel like I haven't seen you. So,
Mhm. I feel that about the being quiet piece because in this kind of work, you do a lot of talking and just like being on all the time. And it's
right,
when you have the time to just not be on, it's like, I don't like my husband listens to a lot of YouTube videos and like and stuff. And I'm better with silence. Like, I'm like, I just want it to be quiet. Like, I enjoy it,
yeah,
especially with the little child too. It's like when there's silence, I'm like, oh, silence. Like I'll drive in the car now, right now, with no music or anything.
right, right. I am gonna throw one other thing at you that might potentially change your world. Are you familiar with a show called Taskmasters?
I am not. No.
Okay,
Mm-mm.
again, British. It is on YouTube. You know, Greg, you might not know who Greg Davis is, but he's the host of it. And they have it, it's well, season long. It's always 10 episodes. And they have these five British comedians and they put them through these most ridiculous, weird tasks, absurd tasks. And it's totally pointless. It's kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway, but with absurd tasks instead of just, hey, let's do improv
Perfect.
games. Yeah,
Yeah.
we watch it. It's our happy place in that if you just want to sit and truly laugh at people being complete and total idiots and having the best possible time, it's right up your alley. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
You'll find it on YouTube. It's free.
I wrote it down. I also feel like all the references you've mentioned, I have not known, and so I'm probably showing how uncultured I am. Like,
I
I still have
know.
not seen. I know, I like the theater, I like the arts, I just haven't
Mhm.
seen any of it, okay? I'm sorry. I still haven't seen Wicked yet, and I feel like that as a
The new
musical
movie
improv,
version.
the play as well, and also
Okay.
I haven't seen the
Okay.
movie.
All
Yeah,
right.
but it's coming to Charlotte. Wicked's
I
here
was
in
gonna
Charlotte,
say yes.
so there's still
Well,
time.
you've got a 1 year old, and I get that. That's I mean, we don't have kids, but I
Yeah.
mean, I've been around enough parents with 1 year olds to know that takes up a lot of time.
Right, but Wicked's been out for, like, 19 other years besides this past year or something, so but I appreciate the excuse, and I
Sure.
totally just no-butted the excuse that you just gave me, and I so anyway.
Right. You didn't yes and, butted. Right.
Yeah. Well, and last question for you, which is related to yes and. Perfect segue there. We totally I teed this up for you.
Right.
Yes and mindset is also a growth mindset. It's like
Mhm.
being open to all the possibilities. How do you embody a yes and mindset or a growth mindset in your life? And I mean, you've talked about it this whole podcast, but to sum it up.
Right. I think it's integral because you never know what's on the other side of that. I'm not saying to be a doormat and just accept every, offer that comes along or every request that comes along. You have to be able to, have your own limits for yourself. But yeah, you've got to stay open to what what could be, you know, staying open to the possibility of something new. I actually say this in my keynote speech, this staying open to the possibility of something new, that's the key. I can only
Nice.
connect it to what I've been doing for the past, 2.5 years with taking the speaking business and the public speaking coaching and starting this thing from scratch. I mean, I didn't know that I was going to be when I started offering these services, I thought it was just going to be something that fell under the Brian Lafontaine Incorporated umbrella of, yeah, I'm an actor, I'm a voiceover artist, I can commercial spokesperson, I direct theater, I do theater, whatever. I do acting coaching and audition coaching. Oh, and I can also offer this. It's a completely different animal. It's a completely separate business because the clientele is different. So
Mm.
in the past, I've had agents working for me and people like here fielding these offers. And here, Brian, what do you think about this? I have to go out and chase all this stuff now on my own. I'm doing this all by myself. At
Yep.
this point in my life, this wasn't part of the plan. So again, staying open to the possibility of something new is the key because with every speech that I give, every workshop that I run, it's another part, it's another step forward in this new chapter and seeing where this can go. I mean, to think about just, it's going to sound just completely, I'm so wonderful. But I mean, to think about the number of people that I would not have helped had I not been open to this exploration of taking this
Yeah.
skill set as an actor that I've, acquired for over 30 years and offering it to people who haven't been in the spotlight, who haven't been the center of attention, who haven't been on stage and, become paralyzed at the thought of doing it. I know what that feels like. I know what that feels like when you get that moment of, this is amazing, this rush of being able to take this audience and this adventure with you. And for me to just
Mhm.
hold it to myself and hoard it and not be
Yeah.
open to what the possibilities could be for other people when I share it, come on. You gotta yes and it. You gotta yes and it.
I love that, and it is I like it's kind of boasting, but it's also like, if I withhold the information, no one gets to hear it.
Right.
But if I share it, the possibilities are endless of who it can impact.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I please don't find a way to edit
No.
this that doesn't make it sound like I'm the anointed one. I'm going like, I've given you the gift. Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying.
I have
You
all the
know?
information. It is wonderful and it will help change your life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But it really
You're so
will.
lucky to know me.
Well, and also
No.
you said yes and to those challenges that you kind of mentioned at the beginning, like kind of people saying, "Hey, you should be doing this. Hey, if you
Mhm.
don't go up and give this open mic, I'm
Right.
gonna steal your joke." And
Right.
you could have said, "No, I'm not ready. No, what do I know about stand up? No, I can't. No, all my
Mhm.
friends will be there." But instead, you said yes, and I'll try it.
Mhm.
And look how that
And
turned out.
I could have died a horrible death each and every time, but that still would have informed
Mhm.
me, that would have given me information. And, not to try and, make light of a dark subject like death, but I mean, I don't know how many, open mic fatalities there have been, or theatrical fatalities there have been, of people. I'm going to go and audition for a play and not survive an audition, or not survive an open mic. Is it embarrassing? Is it scary? Will you regret some of the choices that you made? Yeah, but you're gonna wake up the next day, and
Right.
most of
Mhm.
the all those people that you were in front of, that you felt embarrassed in front of, you're probably never gonna see any of them again as well,
Very true.
So you have more to gain and far you have more to gain and far less to lose.
Only Murders in the Building season 3, I believe there is a death on stage. Look at that reference there. There's a cultural
See,
reference
there
for
you
you.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a comical death on stage, and he dies more than once. It's Paul Rudd,
True. All
and he
right.
dies
Yep. And
multiple
I
times. So, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
That's funny.
Yes. I know something. I've seen one thing, and that was
You
while I
have
was on maternity leave.
pop culture knowledge.
I do. Brian, this has been amazing. I can't wait to see you in action in Charlotte, out and about at speakeasy events. This has just been so wonderful to chat with you and like get some of your knowledge and like hear it and just like and kind of reflect on myself as a speaker too. So you kind of did a little bit of coaching. You didn't know it, but I got a little bit of free coaching out of you. So thank you
I knew it.
today.
I knew it. I knew what I was doing.
Mhm. Our listeners are wondering where and how can they find out more about you. So, give us all the handles.
There you go. You can find me at my website, brianlafontaine.com. You can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Those are the three main places. Or you can email me at brianlafontainecoaching@gmail.com. Just say hi. I'll send you a Christmas
Nice.
card. There you go.
And the next speakeasy event, you said it's the
Monday,
first
October 6th.
Monday of every
Yeah,
month, right?
the first
So,
Monday of every month.
if
Yes.
the next one for all my Charlotte
Uh,
listeners that I will cultivate now
e
is
Brian,
November 3rd.
it would be November 3rd. You are correct.
Excellent. Well, I hope to attend one this year before 2025 is over, but if not, I will attend and I'll give you a big hug if you're accepting hugs. And I just so appreciate you being on and sharing your journey. It really is a storybook journey that you've had, and it's cool to see what you've been able to do with it. It's awesome.
Thanks so much, Dana. I appreciate you having me. This has been a lot of fun. And we need to have lunch so you can come and experience another part of the Charlotte neighborhood sometime. We'll have to set that up.
Oh, you caught the hint. Thank you. I
See?
would I would love to. Yes. That would
Excellent.
be wonderful. So I will see you around for sure.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much. And thank you for listening to today's episode with Brian Lafontaine. Oh my gosh, what a joy and a gem it was to talk with Brian. He is so fun and just so kind of chill and down to earth, but also you can tell that he is really fired up about helping people and helping them to be better speakers and just be better performers and communicators. I love what he's doing with the speakeasy events. I really can't wait to attend. I hesitate to say when I can attend. And and listen, I have a fully capable partner and husband who is able to handle bath time and bedtime, but I like being there for bath time and bedtime with my daughter. And so I am in a season of life where it is just challenging and maybe just not super possible to do a lot of evening time activities right now. And I'm okay with that. There will be other seasons of life soon enough, as soon as maybe I need a break from the bath time and bedtime routine, where I will take an evening or 2 out of the week and go do something for myself. And when I do that, I will go check out a speakeasy event. And I really like the speakeasy format because it is similar to the Moth, which we talked about, where and if you are not familiar with the Moth or haven't checked it out, it's a really cool storytelling organization. I believe they have a podcast too, and they do all kinds of storytelling events, but it's similar and then it's a 5-minute story based on a theme. But what I like that Brian does differently is that he also gives feedback after or throughout the event and kind of helps coach the speakers because in all these events that happen and either it's the Moth or if you're familiar with Toastmasters, they'll do these public speaking competitions where you kind of compete to win a title of either world champion of public speaking or champion of the humorous speech contest or tall tales contest, table topics contest, you name it. But you don't get feedback after those. And I think that's what Brian's doing well with this, at least not having seen it yet, but hearing the format, it's really nice to get feedback after because I've given many speeches and many things where you just don't get feedback after and you go off of the feeling that you have, and generally, if I feel good about the talk that I gave or the presentation, then I know it went well. If I feel good about it, then I can assume that it went well. And yes, you get feedback after, maybe in a survey format, or if you're doing a conference speech or whatever, you usually get some form of feedback after, maybe like a month later or something, that will have helpful things, but it's nice to get real time feedback after a kind of nicely produced speaking event like Speakeasy. And so I think that's great that Brian's doing it. And again, I will go check it out at some point, hopefully this year. I also really loved Brian's story of how he kind of like fell into this acting world and performance world, and it's something he always kind of wanted, but then he had these little challenges and people in his ear telling him, "Hey, you should pursue this. You should really go for it and try it." And I love that he said yes and to it because it can be so easy to say, "No, no, I'm not ready. No, what do I know about stand up? No, I'm too nervous. Oh, no, I'm not the right person for this. You know so and so, oh, they'll do it, right?" It can be so easy to say no and so hard to say yes to it. But when you say yes to it, I think the "and" comes after, and it opens the door of possibilities. And sure, sometimes we do things, we say yes to something, and it leads to something or it may not, and whatever. And sometimes it does. I What I love about yes and the mindset of yes and is just the exploration and the discoveries that can happen after it. And when you say no because or no but, or even sometimes yes but, it closes that door of opportunities in exploration and discovery. And here in this podcast, we're all about saying yes and to things. And Brian had a really good point. I've said this before, but yes and is not just willy-nilly saying yes to everything and having no boundaries. No is a complete sentence. For me, personally, in what I'm doing now, I'm full-time in my business and in the podcast, what I've learned is that if it's not a yes and, then it's a no. And I've heard people say that, like, if it's not a yes, it's a no, and that's how you can kind of check on when your boundaries are coming up. But in my case, as an improviser and a speaker, it's if it's not a yes and, it's a no. And that has worked out well for me in the podcast and in speaking engagements and such. You can tell when your boundaries are flaring up, and sometimes we push them down or we internalize it or we ignore them. And usually something happens or kind of shines the light on why they were flaring up afterwards. So I love that point that obviously you can't say yes to everything, or nor should you, but saying yes and has opened up an awesome world of possibilities for Brian. And I'm so glad he's now stepping into this public speaking business. We were chatting after we hit the stop record button, and I was just telling him how, he's been in his public speaking business for a few years now, but it seems like he's really getting out there. He's getting asked to speak at all these cool events like Creative Mornings in Charlotte, and he's doing other speaking engagements I've seen him do, and he's kind of like he's really getting out there more, and that's exciting to see. And it is a lot of work. It's a lot of putting yourself out there and having to be uncomfortable and having to hear no's, and it can test your courage and your fortitude in a bit. And I am sure Brian is has a pretty thick skin, having been in the industry for a while. But anyway, just for any like aspiring speakers and whatever case that means, it does help to have a thick skin and just go for it. Say yes and go for it. And Brian's really doing that, and that's exciting. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It was so nice to just hear Brian's perspective on how he coaches his clients and gives feedback to people. And he's spot on, right? People come to an event to see you talk or to hear the topic that you're talking about, like something about your message. Like I speak at some conferences. And so, the the catchy title sometimes draws people in, or the topic of the title draws people in, and they've come to see that. And, if you are kind of not taking it seriously, or, you're good enough, I think that's the case in a lot of conferences is you get a lot of good enough speeches and workshops and stuff. And it's great. And it's fine to be good enough. That's better than being the opposite, right? Like, "Oh, that didn't go well." So good enough is enough, but I want it to make an impact on people. I want them to take back what they learned to their organization, and use some of these tools and use what we talked about. And in some of the workshops that I do, it's kind of meta, like it's yes, having that experiential learning and like practicing the skills, but if you zoom out, it's also kind of a reflection of how to facilitate meetings and run workshops and just be a facilitator and hold space for people and have people feel comfortable. And while maybe that's not the topic is facilitation, it's just embodying this feeling as a speaker of that, hey, everyone's welcome here to share and be a part of this. And I want to encourage you to do that. And I think that's really important to embody as a speaker. And I hope that people can see that and kind of get that as like a side impact, or like a secondary impact from my speaking too. Okay, I will leave you with this thought. And I'm still thinking about the speakeasy events, and I looked at the website before having Brian on, and I was kind of thinking to myself, like, what would I want to talk about for 5 minutes? And I have something in mind kind of related to the uncertainty as my friend piece, like the episode that I did. I think I could do a good solid 5 minutes on that. Clearly, I mean, the episode's like 50 minutes. So I could definitely do 5 minutes, but I could actually consolidate and make it like a nice put together 5 minutes. And I think I would like to work on that as kind of my 5-minute topic whenever I get to attend and sign up as a speaker. It seems pretty competitive, and you got to sign up early to be a speaker. So that might not be right away, but just the thought or the idea that you have 5 minutes to speak on a topic that you want to talk about, a story, a topic, whatever it may be. What's that topic that you want to talk about? And you may not live in Charlotte, but there are many organizations that offer that kind of format and place to speak and practice. Toastmasters is one of them, the Moth, of course, but maybe there's some other place where you can practice that 5 minutes. So, a hypothetical, you are given 5 minutes to talk about a topic that is of interest and that you can speak on. What do you speak on? And, you know, could you prepare that and would you do it? Would you speak about it? So if you're in the Charlotte area, come and share that 5-minute story or piece with us, and with Brian, and I say with us because 'cause I'm gonna be there at some point with Brian and the audience, and if not, where can you share this? Where can you get that message out? And maybe it's recording it and putting it online, and, I know that can be intimidating, but I don't know, there's something to that, so, yeah. What's your 5-minute story or speech or topic about? I'm curious to hear. Feel free to share and let me know if anything came up in this episode or if you've got your 5-minute piece that you think you could do or you'd want to do. We could find a way that you can get that message out there for the world. So you can reach out to me at Dayna at Improvly Speaking. That's Dayna at Improvly. That's improv Ly, improblyspeaking.com. I would love to hear from you. I love getting notes and emails from people who've listened in, and I so appreciate that. It makes my day, and I don't do it for the notes, but I promise I save them and I read them on some lower vibration energy days kind of thing. You can also reach out to me on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Improbly Speaking. On LinkedIn, I'm at Dayna Galen. And my website is improbablyspeaking.com. On the transcripts, it always writes it as improbablyspeaking.com. And I'm just going to clearly articulate that this is improblyspeaking.com. So check out that to see all my services and offerings and things that I'm up to as well. Thank you so much for listening today and supporting Improbly Speaking. I'm so glad you're here. And I will leave you with the final reminder to say yes and flex your creative thinking. I'll talk to you next time.